Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Queens Lair. I am your host, Kellie Miles. The topic of today is on overcoming financial distress. And I'm sure many of you know, especially in our culture, in our community, the Black community, when we were growing up, we were never really taught about money. We were never really taught how to properly think about money. And we need to change our perspective so that we can make sure that we're managing our finances properly and not continuing to roll over in debt so much that we're just basically living paycheck to paycheck, just making money to pay the bills. So we're going to talk to some experienced people within the financial industry who are going to share with us their expertise on what we can do to better expertise and tips on how we can better manage our finances. So we're going to bring those queens on right now. Hello, ladies.
Hello, how are you?
I am good. I am good. So thank you again so much for jumping on and for you guys sharing with us today. So before we get started into the conversation, let's just introduce who you guys are. We'll start with you, Kellie.
Sure. My name is Kellie Redman. I'm a Jersey girl. And thank you for having me, Kellie. And what I do is I'm a financial budget coach and accountability. So that's what I provide.
That's good. That's good. What about you, Miss Sheila?
Thank you for having me, Kellie. My name is Sheila Horn, and I'm a Marylander. And I am a financial consultant who helps people find money that they're losing unknowingly and unnecessarily.
Yeah. All right, Miss Toni J. Tell us about you.
My name is Toni J. I'm the author of the Seven Figure Hustle LLC. Got into finances because I didn't know what I was doing. So now I teach mainly children, get them younger, start them off about financial literacy. I didn't realize what it was about, didn't know how to budget. So now I know better. I know better now, put it that way.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And me, I am Kellie Miles and I am in debt and I need help. So hopefully you ladies can help us out. So like I said in the beginning, many of us have dealt with not being properly taught about our finances. And so what are some of the common mistakes that you ladies see that people make when it comes to finances? Go ahead. Anybody can, you can start. Anybody can go.
Well,
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Toni.
No, I'm just saying not being taught, not understanding not to live above your means. And that's what most people do that I found.
Yeah. Go ahead, Miss Sheila.
And a lot of people spend based on their feelings. Their finances are connected to how they feel. And to feel good, people spend money, which is not a good thing.
Yeah. So not being educated, going off of emotions and feelings. What do you think, Kellie?
Yeah, and the other thing is I find that people don't really want to see where they're at because of fear or past debt, and they just don't want to they don't want to deal with that number. So
yeah,
I find that a lot as well.
And a lot of people, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Miss Toni J.
And a lot of people go broke trying to prove they're not broke to other people who are broke.
Status quo, trying to keep up with the status quo.
Right.
Yeah. And I've heard people say that. And it's pretty interesting because, I hear stories from talking to people about relatives and family members who are living within a certain status, but they're not really able to maintain it. And so what they do is once their money is gone, they're constantly reaching out to borrow money from other people. And then they're like, oh, well, I'm having a hard time, this, that, and the other. And then it's like, we have to learn how to make different decisions and choices. It's great that we get the kids when they're young, but once you get to the adulthood, now we have to teach them what to do so that we don't continue to have these same spiraling down effects. So what does financial planning mean? And how would you go about doing financial planning?
Well, I'll go.
Yeah.
Financial planning to me is about setting goals, having a budget in place with goals for savings and an emergency fund, and especially estate planning, having your will and
Mm.
everything in order, and passing on generational wealth. But you need to know where you're at in order to be able to even do that. So,
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Miss Sheila?
And knowing where you are and where you want to go. Sometimes people get stuck in situations because they don't have a goal for where they're going. What do they want out of life? They just exist and live, and they go to work to pay bills, which isn't scriptural.
Yeah. What about you,
right,
Miss Toni J?
I'm a strong believer on the F&A. I just feel everybody needs to do a F&A before they do anything. And what that is the financial needs analysis. And the first column is what lifestyle you want to live. And then you add up. If I'm going to go, I want a boat, I want a housekeeper, I want to, send my kids to college. The second column is what you're working with. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
we tell you, okay, this is what you want. You want to live $100,000 lifestyle. Okay, what you working with? You're working with $50,000. So the third column is we show you what you need to do to put in place to get column one, and what you need to cut down, because that based on your income, based on what your goals are, you might not can even reach that for maybe 5 years or so.
right.
Mm.
So I
Mhm.
think an F&A is the most valuable thing. All my clients are telling from the door, if you're not going to do an F&A, I'm not going to work with you. So it's not
Yeah.
about the money,
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think
because
that,
mhm.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. This is just my passion, because I lost so much because I didn't know.
Mhm.
My kids was even, I was separated from my children,
Yeah.
and it's like,
Right.
people don't understand that
Yeah.
that is, we are consumers. We are taught to be consumers from the time we start going to, we get our first little $5 allowance. You
Yeah.
know,
hmm Right.
go buy,
Yeah.
go spend it. We never, mommies didn't say save. Go ahead, I'll go on and on. Go ahead, y'all.
Yeah.
This,
No, but
No, this is
it's good
great.
stuff. Yeah. And it's real.
Yep.
Yeah. It's
and,
real.
and these kids think you're supposed to just buy, 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 buy. They're
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
taught to save, 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 save.
And that's
Right.
the one thing that I try to teach my younger son now, because, first and foremost, he has to understand that if you want to get money, you have to earn it. So there's work that you have to do in order for you to get that money. And then when you get the money, I'm trying to teach him, he already knows to pay his tithes. So he'll go in online, right in the app, and he'll pay his tithes right away. And then after that, he's in the mindset, because he's only 12. He just wants to buy candy and toys and shorts and whatever else. And I'm trying to tell him, put yourself on a budget for how much you're going to spend. And then from that budget, you need to save something. And if you save something from each one of your pays, you'll start to accumulate some money that you can have as a savings, and you won't just constantly be without money at all. And it's little stuff, like he obviously is not made, he's only an allowance. So he's obviously not going to be making the kind of money, that we would, but it's starting him to get in that mindset of
Mhm.
saving some of your money, budgeting for the money that you want to, pay yourself a little bit so that you can have something that you want to, spend, but then save some of it. And I think that is hard because naturally you have an expectation of what you want and where you want to be and what you want to do. And it's funny because the distance between where you are now and where you want to be is where disappointment lives. And
hmm
it's a lot of times that we get disappointed because we're not where we want to be, and we're living in our mindset of being there. And it has a lot to do with not just fear, but even holding on to what you have when you know you really can't afford it, but you're trying
Right.
so hard to hold on to it because it's something that you've always wanted and you've obtained it, or it's something that you finally got and it's like you don't want to give it up, or something like that. So when it comes to financial planning, how does budgeting fit into that, and why is it really important?
Budgeting is critical because and a lot of people have a negative connotation about budgeting, but budgeting is a tool that tells your money what to do. You are
Mm,
in complete control of your finances. And if you take the mindset that I am telling my money what to do, not my circumstances dictating what happens to my money, budgeting is critical, and it is a necessary tool for financial planning.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. If you don't know what you have, you don't know what you have to work with. And unfortunately, like I said, some people don't like to see that number to see, what they have coming in and then what they have going out each month. And they see that they don't have as much money as they thought they had because it's going towards debt or subscriptions or whatever. So, but you won't know that until you have everything written down and you know exactly what you have to work with.
Absolutely. And because, the government can, or the banks, the government, whoever can just go into your bank account, and because you got on automatic payment and then this month you can't automatically pay, then come on,
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So so you were saying just kind of writing these things down, but what about people who get overwhelmed because to actually sit down and have to write out all of the expenses that they might have and then write, trying to remember subscriptions that they might have that's coming out, like Miss Toni J said, stuff that's automatically being debited and deducted from your account that you have to try to remember. I remember I had like a $9 State Farm insurance thing or something, and every time it would hit, I'm like, what is that? Then it went up to 15. And what is this 15? Oh, that's right. But just different things. But you get so overwhelmed. Are there any tools or apps or programs that make it a little easier that you can just kind of type it in for people who get so overwhelmed? And can it be done in stages instead of sitting down doing it all at once?
See,
what about you? What do you think? Go ahead.
There you go again. You have to do that first step. If you're not going to do that first step, the rest of the steps don't mean anything because you're not going to do it. You need to do an F&A. You need a needs and that. You need to know what's coming in versus what's going out.
Mm-hmm.
And we're taught not to, because like I said, things are so hitting with this new technology, these new phones. You ladies, they have to write it down. Am I right? Write it down. You got to.
You do.
Sheila, go ahead.
You do. And I think, but even before you write it down, one thing that we don't do that kids, I don't even think really kids really dream and imagine like they used to, because everything tells you got the phone that tells you everything to think about, right? But if you have a dream and a goal, for instance, when I went to purchase my house, I had that house in front of me. I knew what the end game was. And when I went to make a purchase, I would say, do I want this or do I want my house? You have to want something so bad. So dream about the life that you want, and it will make it easier to do those other things. But if you don't have a dream, if you don't have a goal, it'll seem more like a chore. But if you have something that you're working towards, it's not so much as a chore. And we have to adjust our mindset, how we look at it. It's for our benefit. It's not going to hurt us to do a budget and to know where we are and to know what is going out. Because guess what? Big businesses know what's coming in and going out.
Right.
And your family, your household is a business. And you have to know what's coming in and going out. And it starts with, guess what? Big business starts with a vision. They sure have their vision and mission statement, and they know what they want. We have to have them individually, and that would help with the process.
And I know you were asking Kelly about programs and apps. There's so many different softwares and apps and programs. And, it really depends on the person, because I've had people that like to use notebook and pen. So they use that. I use an Excel spreadsheet. So it really depends. And then I like some people that they use their phone. So they have apps. So it's whatever works for you. That's what you use.
Okay.
So like, one good one and one better one. It's really up to you and what you need.
Right.
A lot of banks have them right on your websites too. The major banks have financial tools free, and you can have it connected to your bank account free from your bank.
Free.
That's true. Yep. What was you going to say, Miss Toni J? I saw you talking.
Go ahead. When am I thought?
Okay. But
yeah,
but that's really good, because I know we live in this modern age, and I know it might be good to write it down. But in the technology driven world that we live in, majority of our young folks, millennials and under, Gen Z and all of that, they're not writing stuff down in the book.
Right.
They're not even writing cursive anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Right.
we have to try to find it. And so I think going on to the banks and looking at their websites to see some of their programs that they have, like you said, free is going to be a great option. And then you guys might just have to do some homework as well. Do some research to find some free tools and programs and software apps and things like that that will help in helping to get you guys and your information written down or on paper or a spreadsheet, like Kelly said,
visible.
Something visible, right? Because I know for me that I'm one of those people where I don't have a problem writing it down. The problem is the procrastination piece because it's so overwhelming. I get overwhelmed because it's like, oh my God, you got all of these lists of things, and then there's a slight bit of fear. It's like after I look at this list and then I look at what's coming in, it's like, oh, how we making this work, So that's part of it too. So, before we get ready to go into this next piece, we're going to take a short break. And then after this short break, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about a little bit about how the relationship that people have with money and how that influences their financial decisions and management. So we will be right back. All right, so we are back and we are talking about the topic. You're watching the Queens Lair Christian talk show. I am your host, Kellie Miles, and we are talking about overcoming financial distress. And before we left for break, we were talking a little bit about finding ways to put yourself in a position to write down what your expenses are and what your income is so that you can see it visually, whether it's written down on paper, whether it's, on a computer, using the bank websites, using Excel spreadsheets, whatever it is we are using, we have to get it written down so that we can actually see what we're working with and see where the deficits are, and even have a list that we can look at to determine what we can kind of eliminate. So now my next question that we're going to talk about is, when we're raised, I think somebody said it earlier, we're raised to get a job so that we can pay our bills. We're not raised to get a job or, invest, because there's a lot of investments that are out there. And, some other cultures invest very heavily and they make a lot of money and they're doing pretty well and they're able to sustain themselves. So what is the way people have their relationship? Does the relationship or way people perceive money influence their financial decisions and their financial management?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Some people say, I was poor and I'll never be poor when I grow up. And they learn how to manage money and invest, and they do research. Some people don't think about it. They don't know what they don't know. And what they learned is what they saw in their household. And that has affected what they do in their household as an adult. If you had a parent that never had a checking account, that doesn't trust banks, that cash their paycheck at the check cashing place, that's what you learned how to do. Yeah. If you had a parent that pacified you with gifts, whether they really could afford them or not, but made sure that you felt good, that's exactly what you're going to do, because children live what they learn. Unless you get around other people and see their lifestyle and how they do things, and it made an imprint on you. You can be around other people and it doesn't make an imprint on you.
Yeah. What do you think, Kelly?
Oh, most definitely. Well, I can't say it all starts, but for me, I grew up in a single parent home. It was me and my dad early on. And, he didn't grow up learning about budgeting and saving and investing. So he couldn't pass that knowledge on to me. All I knew about is living paycheck to paycheck. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Creditors call on the house. My dad telling me not to answer the phone. That's how I grew up. Unfortunately. But fortunately, now I know better and now I'm doing better and I'm going to pass that knowledge on to my kids. So it does really start with how you're raised and your mindset, but you just have to really, just like Sheila was saying, you got to get, there's so much information out there. You can Google stuff. There's classes, they don't teach finances in high school,
No.
financial literacy in high school. So you just got to really do the research. You really do.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have to be
That education is important.
tired, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Miss Toni J.
Basically, the ladies covered basically all of it. Number one, you have to want to know.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
can't just say, oh, well, no, you have to want to know where my money is going, especially if you're in a relationship. It's not only your money, it's their money too. And a lot of times in relationships, people are doing two different things. You'll have a
Yeah.
person who is a saver, and then you'll have a person who's a spender. So
Right.
Mm-hmm.
unless they get together every month, you feel that usually are not on the same page. And that's what a lot of problems is, because there's them credit cards you don't see. I've known
Oh, yes.
people who in the last 5 years haven't touched money, haven't physically put their hands on money, because all they use are these. It's all they use.
Credit
They
cards. Yeah.
haven't touched money. They don't know what a dollar bill feel like, a $10. They don't touch money because, so with that being said, you have to want to do it, and you have to understand you have to have less going out than coming in.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the educational piece is important because a lot of times, and not only that, but being secure in yourself, because like you said, a lot of times a lot of peer pressure comes in, whether you're with a significant other or with your friends if you're in college and they're, doing things a certain way, and you look at it and say, if they're like, oh, just go ahead, just get it, and it's like, yeah, but if I get this, then I'm gonna be missing here. But then that peer pressure comes in and it causes you to make a bad choice and a bad decision, and then there's a ripple effect. It just kind of keeps spiraling down and down. And one of the things that I've learned is like when you're talking about buying a house, we're always taught, or not all of us have always been taught, but it's been said that when you purchase a home, if you're purchasing it with someone, you want to make sure that you buy it with based on one income. So that way, if anything ever happened, you can still afford the expenses for that house. The problem with that is you don't always, especially in today's economy, you don't always get the kind of house you want in the kind of neighborhood that you want with the kind of money you get on one paycheck, depending on how much you make, which discourages people from doing that. So then they do two paychecks. And then it's like now you're in a position where you want to get this house, so you get it based on these two paychecks, and now you can pay the mortgage, but you didn't think about the windows might need to be replaced. You might need a new bathroom. The toilet might break. Any of the maintenance pieces is always a struggle because you make enough money to pay the bills and nothing else. How do we get out of the mindset of not feeling like we're settling? And if you are one person, how do you get out of that mindset to take yourself to the next level? Because essentially all of this comes from the mindset and changing your mindset and perspective. But how do you do that? So go with you. Go ahead, Miss Toni J.
I'm sorry. You just have to want it. Number one, I don't care who you are, what age, young, old. If you haven't set in your mind, I need to do this, there's no way to do it. I don't understand. I don't know what else to say. You have to understand that you need to do this. Kids need to be taught before they go to college what's going to happen. You're going to be bombarded with credit cards, and they're going to give them to you.
Yep.
You ain't got to ask for them. They're going to give them to you.
Give them to you.
Now you're going to come out owing $100,000 in debt. They want you in debt. They're called worker bees. They send us to college to be worker bees. You come out, you in debt. Now what? In 6 months, I don't care what you're doing, whether you got a job or not, they want you to start paying it back with interest.
Yeah.
So they start you all broke.
Yeah. What do you think, Kelly?
I'm sorry. What was the question again? I'm sorry.
We're talking about the mindset. How do you change your mindset when it comes to your finances and, making smarter purchases?
Well, like Toni J was saying, and Sheila, you have to want to do it. You have to want to change, and then you have to put action steps into what you want to do and what you're believing for. Like Sheila said, you have a vision, get a picture of something that you want, put it on your refrigerator, put it on your dashboard, keep that thing in your mind, and watch your words. Don't say like, I'm never going to have this, I'm never going to have that, because there's power, there's life and death in the power of the tongue. So if you're speaking that you're always going to be in debt, then guess what? You're pretty much probably always going to be in debt. If you're speaking that you're never going to have savings, then you're probably never going to have savings. So you got to go get that vision, watch your words, and then you just got to put some action into what you're believing God for.
Yeah, that's good. And it's hard because you have to have self-discipline. You have to find that self-discipline and that push within yourself to make yourself to change your habits, to make yourself sit down and change your perspective and make yourself write out your plan or a budget or write out your expenses and your income. It takes a lot to do that. So we're, getting ready to wrap up. But before we do, I want to get each one of your perspective on a tip, like one tip that could help somebody and what they need to do, either to change their mindset or to do better financial planning and budgeting for themselves. So I'll start with you, Miss Sheila.
Well, one thing, the first thing that came to my head was Habakkuk, write the vision and make it plain. If you don't have a goal in front of you, you have nothing, you have no incentive. So I would encourage you, dream and dream big, because God, John 10:10, Jesus came for us to have abundant life on this earth. We can have anything that we work for, but it comes in stages and steps and not all at once.
Yeah. Miss Toni J?
My advice is that do an F&A. Know your numbers. Know your numbers. Know what you can afford. Learn what you can afford, and then go from there. And like Sheila said, have faith. Write it down. Make it plain.
Make it plain. Yes, Kelly.
For me, I would say believe in yourself. Believe that you can do better, and then you will do better. Just like I said, you have to take some action steps, and just put your past behind you, and just keep moving forward, and it's going to get better.
Yeah, that's good. Well, this is really, really good stuff. I hope you ladies and all of you out there are listening, because this is definitely something that we need to do to change the way our communities even are set up. Because if we can change our perspective and change our narrative on finances and money, we can change some of the things and how our communities are and our neighborhoods are set up. So thank you ladies so much for coming on and joining. And I am looking forward to part 2, because we're going to have a part 2. So you guys stay tuned for part 2, and we'll see you guys later.
Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. We are just so excited to talk about this topic. So we're going to have a part 2 that we're going to continue the conversation and talk a little bit more about overcoming financial distress. Make sure you check out our YouTube page, because we have other topics that you might want to check out that could benefit you. So check out our YouTube page, and also make sure you check out the after show, because sometimes we have more to say on this specific topic and it goes into the after show. All right, you guys stay tuned for the next episode, part 2 of Overcoming Financial Distress. Bye. Thanks for watching The Queen's Lair. Stay tuned for the next episode.